let's talk about the NBA playoffs, man. One of the big stories we talked about was Knicks Hawks, but I know the Knicks won and all that stuff, but the Knicks fans was on some. At least the Knicks fans that were close to Trae Young on the that was close to Trae Young when he was doing a side out of bounds play. One of the fans spit on this man during one of the timeouts. Man, I thought when I first saw the video, I thought it was just, Trae Young is with 50 and there's 50 on the sideline. I didn't see the spit first time, but we talk about this all the time, Raja, and I obviously want to get CC's opinion. What the do we need to do with these fans, man? Like, obviously fans have to do something. Let's start with CC. CC, what do we have to do with the fans, particularly that are in close proximity with players?
You know, it's crazy, man. You want that as a fan, you want that experience, right? To be on court side or, be close to the action as possible. But when you see stupid shit like that, when guys spit, and I didn't see the spit either when I first seen the video, but I saw the woman's reaction that was sitting, right. She was sitting courtside and she saw the spit. So like, her reaction made me, realize that the guy spit on Trae. And then watching, Westbrook, walking in the tunnel with an injury and then, popcorn's getting thrown on him. So, like, it's those things where, I've had my wife and my mom in the stands where beer's been poured on them and different things like that. So it sucks. And I wish there's something that we could do to, figure out and screen these fans that are going to sit courtside. But I mean, it's part of the fan experience is being that close to the action. You just wish that some of this stupid wouldn't happen,
Yeah. Raja, how does it feel like when you're obviously you played basketball and fans are in closer proximity to you than they would be for CC, who's in the middle of the mound, and you have to actually see that if you have like a corner three or even have like a wing three or something like that. You interact with them on a daily. What is that experience like, and how often do fans cross the line in the NBA?
Frequently, not frequently in the sense of them reaching out and spitting on you or throwing something at you and stuff like that. But there's frequently an interaction with you and a fan, right? Because of the nature of how close they are to you. I always enjoyed it. Like I was one of those guys that like was looking for a little bit extra reason to be doing what I was doing. So having someone courtside, especially that's heckling you, you knock down that first three, you shoot him a glance, you maybe say something, you knock down another one. Now you're talking, popping a lot of shit and it's going back and forth. Those were always fun. Those were memorable experiences for me. But I did have some, like I was in LA in Staples Christmas, probably 2002, after we had played them in the finals with the Sixers. And, my dad was getting into a beef up in the stands because someone had poured something on my mom and them, So, like, those get scary because you're in a building, your family's there, these are people you care about, and you're helpless. You're on the court. You can't really get up in there to defend. So, look, if you spit on someone, throw something at someone, cross that line between a conversation, which is your right to have as a fan. Like, you can boo me, you can say whatever the hell you want. But once you like assault me, they need to be, first of all, there's no indefinite suspension, Philly, that he can't come back.
He can't come back.
You're banned for life, dog. Like, I don't give a shit. You can't come back in here. And then whatever legally can be explored, that needs to be explored because athletes got to feel safe out there. You gotta. We are fair game in terms of yelling, screaming, and acting a fool. But you cannot start putting our safety or our loved one's safety in jeopardy. At that point, you gotta prosecute. Do what you could do.
And for me, like the NBA, like ban the fan for life from all arenas. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of behavior, spitting on somebody, throwing some shit on a player. Like you should never be able to come back to no NBA games. Period. It's over.
And this is deep. This is deep. I don't want to really get into all of this, but I felt some kind of way, man. Like people come to those games, and think they can act any kind of way. It's deeper than that. Like that, you're acting like people out there aren't human beings. Like you're just like you're at a damn carnival watching, go on, or at a zoo, like, and you could do whatever the you want. Like you got me up. Sorry for the language, but I'm not here for that.
Now, we have, like, for context, that when you guys are talking about the Sixers and the fan getting banned, just want to give extra context. That was when Russell Westbrook got popcorn thrown on his head after, as he's going to the locker room to get his ankle looked at. And there was shades of Malice in the Palace vibes, like it was about to go down, and fortunately the security got to them. And it's interesting to me just how fans' reactions are getting covered now versus how they got covered when the Malice in the Palace happened, right? Largely, it seemed like it was the players' fault that this happened, right? The way it was covered. CC, do you think we've evolved our coverage and how fans speak to players and how they interact with players and what you should do and should not do since then?
Yeah, I think for sure that the coverage has changed. I mean, even if you just look at that video of Russ, all the fans were pointing at the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They were all pointing at him. If you watched the Malice in the Palace, you couldn't tell who did what. You know what I'm saying? It was just like you were just seeing players react. But like, soon as that guy threw the popcorn, every fan up there started pointing. So yeah, I mean, I think people understand what's right and what's wrong. And to Raja's point, like, we ain't circus animals, bro. Like, we are human. You can't just say whatever, do whatever, and expect us not to react. So yeah, I mean, you got to understand that crossing that line, you may get a human reaction out of Russell Westbrook, who was probably going to go up in the stands if somebody wouldn't have grabbed him last night.
I mean, and he probably would have been he would have been warranted in doing so, right? Like if he would have went out there. It's funny, and I want to get to you, Raja, because you were actually in the league when the Malice actually happened. What would you think that? Because in my vantage point, everybody, like Stat got vilified for that. Ron Artest got vilified for that. Every player involved got vilified for that. And largely, we don't really talk about the person that actually started it, right? The person that threw the object at Ron Artest. What was that like for you as a player immediately after the Malice in the Palace before, as opposed to before?
It was bugged out because, I mean, look, when I played in Europe for the month and a half I was there, you were used to a little bit more of a raucous environment, right? Like you were told, hey man, we gotta get up out of here. Somebody, some things might come down. Like, but playing in the NBA, playing in, Division I college basketball, you don't see that. Like, that's not something that you're accustomed to seeing. So when it happened in the NBA, it was a really weird space to be in, Logan, because we understood that, like, for our business, we can't do that, right? We can't, we can't. Like, that affects the product if the fans aren't paying the money and we're not generating the TV revenue, like, we all suffer. But at the same time, everybody would have went up there and whooped somebody's ass on that. Like, you can't be throwing shit at me. You know what I mean? And you harbored those feelings too because, and I think this is bigger topic, man. This is societal now. Like, I have young boys and one of them is really into like trolling and messing with people, and I have to have a conversation with him because that's what all his friends do about like, look, man, I get you see that shit on Instagram and you see it on YouTube and all of that and you think it's funny. But, when you catch one of these people in person, you're going to have to be ready to square up. And if you're not ready to square up and handle yours, you better leave that man alone or woman. Whatever it looks like, you better leave it alone. And so, I think it's bigger picture. You hop on something now, you could just fire off all kind of shit. Yeah. Who cares? I ain't got to see him. And so you take that and you take it to the arena and think, I can act however I want to act. But, you get checked real quick, bro. Russ didn't get his hands put on him last night and he's up there putting you where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Hey, you know what's crazy is that I had this whole big blow up in Toronto in 2015. I don't know if maybe you guys heard about it, maybe you didn't.
We watched Under the Grapefruit. We saw it. We saw it on HBO Max.
The start of that was a fan screaming at me like, "You suck," blah blah blah, and all I did was turned around. I was like, "Cuz this is not Twitter. This ain't fucking Instagram. I can put hands on you right now. I'll fuck you up," and that's all I said. And then it just started to, you know what I'm saying? But like social media and online and the way that you have access to different people now makes people get really bold in real life. And somebody's gonna get somebody's gonna get hurt behind that shit. You know what I'm saying?